Hello, it's Mark here from Yokel Bear Reads with my first ghost story for Christmas recommendation. And we're starting with one of the greatest ghost stories of all time, and that is "O Whistle and I'll Come to You, My Lad" by M.R. James, which I have in this marvellous volume, which is the entire collected ghost stories of M.R. James. The 150th anniversary. And M.R. James, I've done a video before about M.R. James, which I'll link, is the absolute master of the ghost story. And I mean, I think if you want a recommendation on the back of here, let me read this. This is a recommendation from Neil Gaiman. There are all sorts of writers of all sorts of nightmares, but M.R. James wrote the best ghost stories. He may well have created the ghost story in its current form. Nobody can do what he did as well as he could. And that's from Neil Gaiman. So I highly recommend M.R. James's ghost stories. So this is the story that I'm going to be talking about today is in here. So what is this story? Well, it's a story of hubris. It's a story about a man thinking he knows better, thinking he knows everything about the world. And it's a story also about an innocuous action or an innocuous object bringing evil down on someone. And yeah, it really does. So the story starts when we're introduced to a young professor called Parkin, Professor Parkin. And he's a very proud and certain man. He's certain of the world. He's certain that everything can be explained, that the natural world is all that there is. In fact, there is a part of this story, there is a conversation he has with somebody about the existence of ghosts. He's quite smug in his certainty that the supernatural doesn't exist. And he's quite, he's an academic who is absolutely certain of what he believes. He'd probably be the Richard Dawkins of his day, to be honest. But he decides to go on a golfing holiday. It's rather strange because he seems to be going in January, according to the book. But anyway, he's going on a golfing holiday to an East Anglian town, and everything seems, what can go wrong? You're going on a golfing holiday. Well, this is where it goes wrong. He finds a whistle, a very old whistle, but a very innocuous whistle, with a Latin inscription on the side. Quis est iste qui venit? Who is this? Who is coming? And of course, as in all good ghost stories, he blows the whistle, and that's what brings the ghost. From that point in the story, there is a sense of absolute dread that builds very, very slowly. Who is this? Who is coming? Well, we're about to find out. Or, well, we kind of do. But as with these ghost stories, very often you don't find out exactly what it is. You just know it's bad. And first of all, there's this scenes kind of in dreams that he has, and you have this scene on the beach where he appears to be being followed by something out the corner of his eye, something he can't quite get a handle on. And one thing about M.R. James's ghost stories, landscape plays a real part, and you can really tell from the descriptions the desolate, bleak winter deserted beaches of the eastern coast of England, which, if you've ever been there, is quite a spooky place, especially at that time of year. And it kind of really gives a sense of place to these stories. And this thing is chasing him up the beach. So Parkin, being, he puts it all out of his mind. He's rational explanations and all that kind of thing. But this thing, whatever it is, makes it to his bedroom. And that's where some of the best scenes of this story are. But also as well, the description, you don't really know, this is a ghost, is this a demon, is this something, we don't really know. But the description, and I think it's worth quoting, this is a description of when the ghost is first seen. It would stop, raise arms, bow its tail forward, stooping across the beach to the water's edge and back again. And then rising upright, once more it would continue its course forward. And it was startling and it was terrifying. And so, you don't really know what this is. I'm not going to give away when you see what happens next, because I think it would give away too much of the story. But let's just say that by the end of this night, Professor Parkin is probably going to have to shift his views a little bit. So why should you read this story? Well, first of all, it's classic. It's an absolute classic of the kind of golden age of ghost stories, around about the kind of late 1900s, early 20th century. But also as well, as I said, it's the sense of dread. You know something's going to happen, but you're not quite sure what. And even when it does, you're still not quite sure, because a good ghost story very often isn't about showing you the ghost right up front. It's about it's not kind of gross out horror. It's about something in the corner of your eye. It's kind of something that you think you've glimpsed, but you're not really sure. And also as well, there's kind of a real ambiguity about what this thing is that I love. And I think that makes it more terrifying sometimes, because, actually in my head, the ghost is probably more terrifying than it is on the page, because there's a lot left to the imagination. So I would highly recommend this. Now there have been two adaptations, one in 2010 and one in 1968. Now the 2010 one deviated quite a bit from the story. It's got John Hurt in it, but it's worth a watch if you can find it. But the one that you should really watch is the 1968 version, the black and white version with Michael Hordern. They did change some things, but they stuck very much to the spirit of it. And again, I'll link that down below. If you want something to watch, spooky, then please give that a click. So that's our first ghost story for Christmas. Next time, we're going to bring things bang up to date with a completely new modern ghost story written by M.R. Carey, who wrote The Girl with All the Gifts. And I would say this ghost story is probably what I would say is the first Brexit ghost story. But beyond that, I'm saying nothing. So, until next time, sleep well.